September 11th, 1973. A democratically elected leader is inside his own palace. Bombs are flying, and the soldiers of the coup are closing in. By the end of the day, he's dead. Nobody agrees how it happened. Come with me to answer the question, how did Salvador Allende die? In 1970, the first democratically elected Marxist of South America was elected to be the president of Chile. This man had already been the president of the pro-Castro organization, the LAOS, the Latin American Organization of Solidarity. This organization's aim was to spread pro-socialist ideology across South America. This man's name was Salvador Allende. The United States of America was not going to let this one slide. A Marxist was running around in their backyard, and they were going to do whatever they could to get him out. The CIA backed a coup led by Augusto Pinochet to try and get him out of office. On September 11, 1973, Augusto Pinochet's forces surrounded the building, the Air Force dropped bombs on it, and the soldiers moved in. That morning, Allende had given a speech to his people. He said, "I will not resign. Placed in a historical moment of change, I will pay with my life for the loyalty of the people." By that afternoon, he was dead. And this is where things get weird. Soon after, his daughter Beatriz co-authors a Ms. Magazine article titled "The Day My Father Was Killed." In it, it describes a soldier who was with him as he directed the battle inside of his red room inside the palace. The Chilean reporter Robinson Rojas points out how Pinochet had every reason to make the world think that Allende killed himself. A dead leader becomes a martyr makes a resistance, and a dead leader makes them seem weak. From an international politics standpoint, it also would look like the US would be in deep poo-poo if it looked like they just executed another country's leader. A leader that says he will die for his country with multiple supporting sources? Let's go deeper. Now it's time to corroborate our sources. Especially if it seems like an evidence's origin is as compromised as a heartbroken daughter that is sad about their dad's death. The soldier in Beatrice's article does not stand up to this corroboration test. Many autopsies have been done, and none of the bullet hole counts are consistent with Beatrice's article. Second, while Robinson Rojas may not have said anything untruthful, it can totally be switched. Allende's side had plenty of reason to invent a murder, because a president dying in battle is a lot better of a rally cry than a president who gave up. In this situation where eyewitness testimony and political evidence have not proven anything, we need to move on to some other evidence. Physical evidence. Let's start out with Allende's personal physician that I could only get granular pics of. Patricio Gijon just happened to be in the palace with Allende when he died. Patricio said he watched as Allende sat down into an armchair, put the gun in his mouth, and then shot himself. This, however, was corroborated with an autopsy done by an unbiased set of doctors from around the world. The doctors said the wound matched the scenario exactly. The Assistant for National Security Affairs, Henry Kissinger, wrote a memo to President Nixon on the day of the coup. In it, Kissinger describes Allende as defiant and reportedly drunk before the palace is bombed and Allende accepts defeat. Finally, Beatrice gave an interview 30 years later and said this: "It was only after his body was exhumed that I acknowledged that he had committed suicide." The person that argued the hardest that Allende had not killed himself changed her mind after seeing the physical evidence. Now here's the bad thing about every single piece of evidence in this case, and pretty much every piece of evidence ever. They all have a political motive behind them. In the first piece of evidence that we talked about Beatrice in, she had every reason to want to make her father's memory a better one. And in the Kissinger memo, there's no shot he's writing, "We killed the president of Chile," because that would be an international nightmare. In these cases, you have to find the evidence that are consistent across political lines and try and find as much apolitical evidence as possible. If you do that with this scenario, the murder case falls apart pretty quickly and the suicide one stays alive. The autopsy, his physician, and even his own daughter point to the same answer: his own suicide. But here's the thing that stuck with me after all of this. In horrible scenarios like these, there will always be a counterpoint because sometimes humans can't comprehend what other humans would do. We take the story that is most convenient to us and then use confirmation bias to choose the evidence that will best fit our story. On September 11th, 1973, after being bombarded in his own palace by the coup led by Pinochet and backed by the CIA, Salvador Allende died by taking his own life. Thank you. From IB History, Luke out.